I'm Chris Profit, Director of Communications for the City of Westfield, and we're kicking off a brand new series called Mondays with the Mayor, where we discuss issues that are very important to the people of Westfield and also to the business community. And joining me this morning is Mayor Andy Cook. So good morning, Mayor. I want to begin right now with the American Rescue Plan Act funds. $4.9 million going to Westfield in 2021, and that amount going in 2022. That's due this year. The Fed has loosened restrictions on how that money can be spent by cities, and there's lots of debate right now that's going around about how that money should be spent. Infrastructure,
there is, yes.
Social service agencies, premium pay for public safety workers, and the essentials during this part of the pandemic. How do you think those funds should be spent?
Well, I think our city council committee is doing a good job taking a look at this. They've allocated and actually paid out some funds to some of our front line public safety workers. I have in mind a few other people that were out there for the city that I'd like to see them consider paying it. Public safety people obviously deserve that kind of pay, but you know, we kept plowing snow and we kept filling potholes, we kept cutting grass. We had our IT people, for example, worked tirelessly to provide the kind of technology services where many of our employees could work at home. So they never really just sat at home, protected, so to speak. Also, in order to keep our booming housing industry and commercial building going, our full staff of inspectors, both infrastructure and building inspectors, they never missed a beat, and they did some very creative planning and programming. For example, with our builders, they would arrange an appointment to make an inspection of, say, electrical at 3 p.m., and I expect, as the inspector, to be the only one in the house at that time, and it worked out well. So, yes, there were a lot of our public employees that were engaged during the COVID.
What about infrastructure improvements? Because the federal government really has loosened some of those restrictions, as I mentioned at the top.
They have.
What do you think infrastructure-wise? Is there something there you'd like to see done?
Well, I think, you know, part of their original definition was we could use it for stormwater, and we do have a very involved stormwater project that we really need to do, and that is on the east side of Union Street, from 171st Street up to the bridge downtown. And so we are proceeding with that. Now that they've just opened this up in the last couple weeks, I'm working with our public works people to say, hey, are there other projects that would fall into this?
What about social service agencies? The ones
yeah.
What about that?
You know, we're very, very fortunate here in Westfield to have organizations that are driven by nonprofits. We have Open Doors, we have Student Impact, we have the Wellbeing Coalition, and of course we have the highly successful Student Impact program that we just announced, and we have our Youth Assistance Program that's been around for 10 years. And I can make a strong case that all of those agencies have been severely affected by the COVID. For example, Youth Assistance over the last 2 years of COVID has seen a marked increase in demand for their services, and a lot of that is due to COVID. So I'd really like to see our council take a hard look at providing funds to our social service agencies here in Westfield, our nonprofits.
Yeah, you also are a big supporter of the Y.
We'd love to see the Y complete their fundraising, and that was one of those items that I believe has been opened up to funding. There's still a lot of legal debate going back and forth, but if that is indeed eligible, I would love to see about $5 million go to this Y, because you know, that is intended to be our social center. Many towns and cities have some kind of a recreation center. Yes, we've got we've got Grand Park and we've got Grand Junction, but we don't have what the Y would bring us. Not only swimming, but gymnasium, programming of health, safety, nutrition. They also are very active about bringing in education of higher learning, which is something we do not have in the city of Westfield. And yes, I think that would be a great program.
Finally, 2021, a very challenging year for cities, for towns, for
Yes.
families. When you look back at 2021, what do you get out of it, good and bad?
Well, I think, of course, the bad part was the COVID itself. The lives we lost, the disruption of our businesses, the education of our children. I mean, this has had to have an effect on the education level of our children. So it's something that nobody was prepared for. I spent hours searching if that was in my job description as mayor. I couldn't find that. But you know what? These employees in the city, our volunteers, and our citizens, I mean, if you look at across the country, Westfield has come through this relatively well, and we've been very, very fortunate.
You also said that during these Mondays with the mayor that you're looking for input from the people who live in Westfield.
Oh, very much. You know, to communicate with all of our citizens is extremely difficult. Our communications department does a wonderful job of getting the word out, whether it's about our snow progress or road closures, events that are going on. But yeah, the communications need to continue with our citizens. And on any of these subjects, how do we spend the COVID? What are we doing with roadways or stormwater? The council and the administration would love to hear more from our citizens.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you next week.
Very good.